Chen, call me! I want to talk to you! I honestly want to talk to you, dude! You're a cool guy, I want to talk to you!
Of course!
Come on, don't go off! Jesus!
Love you,
this is harassment. We are at the Resist talk. You're going to learn how to create radical change. Ridiculously radical, you might say. We're trying to have a reasonable discussion. How am I doing, Hank? Just checking in. All I've done so far is meme. Now, I don't want you to think we've taken over. We're just sitting here. Doing nothing. Doing all the nothing. Am I sufficiently addressing ideas and not individuals? What's my ratio? And if you'd be so kind, I'd love to see the metrics. Have I broken the rules yet? How about now?
Get off the stage, you fat fuck.
I'm still just memeing, Hank. And if you're blissfully unaware of the origin of that meme, then you need to know your meme.
Welcome to the Resist panel.
What would be the logical thing to do at the Resist panel? I'll wait. I won't wait. You resist the Resist panel.
That's why it's called Resist. You wouldn't do Resist if you were in charge.
On the contrary, panelist number 2, if you are truly in charge, then you can call things whatever you like. You can refer to an invasion as a liberation and vice versa as long as you're in charge. Specifically in charge of the media, the mass media, the fluid vocabulary of the masses. And whether you have a president or a prime minister or an emperor, you'd better pray you're in the timeline where the leader does not control the media. And you are in that timeline, America. I know you don't like Hillary either, some of the people on this panel, but please understand, we are in the less bad timeline. We came this close to having an American president and an American media not just in bed together, but docked into each other's pockets, as it were, and sealed in place with intersectional identity politics. When the leader of the free world can make any decision, and the mass media can cement that decision by internationally smearing any conscientious objectors as misogynists, yeah, that's the sleeping giant apocalypse timeline. And it is not long for whatever world it's in.
Well, I have a mic for a reason and you don't.
Precisely, panelist number 4. Well illustrated. When our figureheads are speaking for us instead of with us, it becomes very apparent what your game really is. That when you say, and for the umpteenth bloody time, I think it's really important to have these kinds of conversations. The conversations you are referring to are the ones where you talk and everyone else listens. End of story. Where everyone else on the panel is the same political persuasion as you, while anyone of a different political persuasion is either banned from commenting or quote mined for commenting, or publicly slandered and lied about for even showing up. Those are the conversations you want to have. The ones where you give lectures full of unquestionable assertions. You have a faint to vanishing interest in any other kind of conversation. Thank you for the data. I'll write this in my translation archive. The phrase, I think it's important to have these kinds of conversations, means dissent is verboten. I thought you might have changed your ways after meeting Warski number A, panelist number 4. I thought it might make you see that your opponents aren't bad people, to have a real-time conversation with one of them. But here you are, straight away, reflexively, being somewhat of a dick to him and his friends, when all they did was show up to listen to you and applaud when they like what they hear. We were the only ones applauding, by the way, for that whole fucking thing.
But I think that if we can try and listen to each other a little bit more, I think that there's an opportunity to work together towards a common goal. Because I have oftentimes found that people that I assumed had completely different opinions than me. Oh my God, I'm getting wow, it's awesome. The things you say about me in your videos don't actually represent who I am.
It's called jokes.
isn't the way they are.
Well, I have a mic for a reason and you don't.
Let's run that whole thing through the translator, shall we? I think it's important that we listen to each other. Oh, I'm glad you agree. You're all wrong about me. Now shut up, I'm talking. That was a very suspicious series of statements, panelist number 4. But, I'll let you off, because I'm guessing you sort of lose concentration when you hear spontaneous applause, because you're not used to it. Because you either talk in front of a camera or in front of an audience being cued when to applaud. Or you go to a panel discussion and say frightfully boring things to frightfully boring people for an hour or so. A sort of a high energy audience with sort of diverse and strong opinions is a strange and exotic creature to you, isn't it?
You're in the audience wanting lots of attention. As well. This is what you guys came for, right? Finally getting that acknowledgement that you so crave. It's great.
Yes, panelist number 4, we do crave acknowledgement and we do crave attention. We are video creators, public video creators. We produce information that is worthless without the accompanying attention of eyes and ears. Whether we do this for the money or the activism or just getting things off our chests, the one thing we all have in common is the currency of attention. That's why we all have content that begins with www. rather than C:. We don't just do this as a hobby to pass the time, we want to be heard. So I'm fascinated to know what might be the point of what you just said, because you said it like it's an insult.
You're in the audience wanting lots of attention. As well. This is what you guys came for, right? Finally getting that acknowledgement that you so crave. It's great.
You at least said it like it's a taunt. You know what I mean? It's VidCon. It's a convention specifically for audiovisual purveyors of attention. You told the audience, you're all just attention seekers trying to get acknowledged. Which is like going to a medical convention and saying, you're all just busybodies trying to fix everything. It would be considered a lapse in perspective at best. It would leave a lot of people going, who is this person? And moreover, who does she think she is? Actually, in all likelihood, they'd assume it's a joke. Medical professionals are generally expected to have a sense of humour, because they need one. But when a social justice shill goes to VidCon and says, you guys are just attention seekers, we know it's not a joke. She's dead serious. She just has no self-awareness. Because a social justice shill is generally expected not to have a sense of humour, or at least to have a broken, malfunctioning, badly weaponized sense of humour. And it is apt to compare medical professionals with broadcasting professionals. It's a yin-yang thing. One is the healer, the other is the channeler. We are the channelers. And so are you, panelist number 4. Don't forget yourself, madam.
But I think there has to be a level of civility, and that level of civility means not sitting in the audience and yelling.
Check.
That also means not attacking someone's appearance.
Check.
That means not crossing certain boundaries about actually attacking the person and not the issues that come about.
Check. As far as I know, Hank is the final arbiter there. How are my metrics, Hank, whatever they are? Is my ideas gunge tank emptier than my individual's gunge tank? On what neon flavour am I going to get gunged in? How do I address these ideas? How do I broadcast the footage of these ideas being raised without invoking any outrage in those who hear them? Panelists number 2 and 4 have proved extremely difficult to pull off, since they're both saying things that make no blinking sense, Hank. If people pay to hear someone talk sense, and they talk nothing but nonsense, they have every right to feel outraged. No? Do they have every right to express their outrage? I'll try panelist number 3, shall I? Give us some examples of the issues you're raising, panelist number 3.
So for me, I kind of look at it because I
feel like I'm gonna say what's on my mind. I mean, not my YouTube, my main YouTube channel, but everywhere else is like, I'm just gonna say what's on my mind. I had a day where I made a video where I was ranting about how my boyfriend wouldn't help me move. For the longest time, my YouTube channel was a dating channel. I'm a very flawed person when I was single, and I'm so flawed. Oh my God, was I really messy when I was single? It was just this video where I was like, holy shit, my boyfriend's just da-da-da, he's in the other room, he's playing fucking video games, da-da-da. That felt so extreme. And it was so interesting to see how people reacted to that, because they're like, oh my God, you're complaining about something that isn't, you know, being trans, or being black, or being this. And sometimes that's problematic. Bitching and moaning about life because I'm crude as fuck. Because like I kind of look at it like sometimes it's not worth it. I spend so much time explaining things to people, and I'm kind of like recognizing that I shouldn't do it anymore. They like really fuck with me. Honestly, it depends on how drunk I am. Or if whether or not you've actually bought me a drink. If you buy me a drink, I might have time for you. But if you're just trying to, you know, I find oftentimes that it's not, these conversations are very deep, you know. Oftentimes they're not going to be resolved in one sitting. But I will say that a lot of people are just ignorant. Yeah. You know, a lot of people just don't know.
Have I illustrated the issue? Yes, I know that was like 10 times longer than it needed to be. I'm giving you the authentic VidCon experience. Every panel is like this. These people spend half their time talking about themselves and their appearances, and they spend the other half of their time complaining about imaginary internet trolls who address their appearance instead of their ideas. This is worse than vacuous. It's a downward spiral that never disappears into itself. It's a bottomless fucking fractal of self-centered time wasting. And when we say, hey, do you think you might be wasting everyone's time by talking about nothing but your race and your gender and your victimhood, you go, OMG, why doesn't anyone talk about my ideas? The only ideas you have are about your appearance and your victimhood. You've made it impossible to address anything you say without offending you as a person, because your ideas do not extend any further than your fucking skin. And I, for one, think this is a waste of everyone's time and patience and trust. People come to VidCon to learn some salient information from these panels, and all we hear is navel-gazing sob stories and fart-sniffing self-congratulations from shallow narcissists who will never be happy until the whole world loves them unquestioningly just for existing. Oh, here we go then. Can you shed any light on this, panelist number 0?
Yes. Words. Yeah.
Yes, speaking of words, if I respond to this panel using, let's say, words, will that be construed as harassment? Will I get blocked and reported and silenced if I respond to this panel using words?
And then I just block someone on Twitter. It's like, oh my God, that feels so good. I know, it's like, this feels amazing.
I'm so glad you came to that.
Yeah, no, it was great.
The mute button is incredible, and I wish it existed on everything.
What we are talking about is targeted harassment. And I think we need to use the language of the things that we're talking about, and that's one of the first steps in actually working to end harassment and to end the targeted harassment of women, people of color, queer folks, anyone who is of any intersection of oppression has experienced some level of harassment online because of who they are, not because of what they're saying or what they're doing necessarily.
How can someone critique somebody else in a way that isn't bullying?
Don't harass them.
Yeah. Yeah, what does that mean? So like how do you offer like a positive critique?
It's not hard to be respectful and say, I disagree with you for these reasons, right? And come at it with the benefit of the doubt that you're coming where you're truly trying to intellectually have a conversation with somebody else, right? I feel like I get a lot of folks who say, well, what's the difference? Like, how do you draw the line? Where is it? I'm like, I think it should be pretty clear what's harassment. Like, if you're like, hey, what you said was dumb, you stupid bitch. Like, that's harassment. If you said, I disagree with your points because there's this example in X, Y, and Z or what have you, that could be better.
If you Google my name on YouTube, you get shitheads like this dude.
If you're like, hey, what you said was dumb.
Who are making these dumbass videos.
You stupid bitch.
That just say the same shit over and over again.
I think it should be pretty clear what's harassment.
It's like I can't give you attention because you're a garbage human.
We need to use the language of the things that we're talking about.
Whatever, dude.
And unfortunately, that's what a lot of people have to deal with, is you have to sort of get to that point where you're laughing at it. I laugh at it.
Whatever, dude.
And that's one of the first steps in actually working to end harassment and to end the targeted harassment of women, people of color, queer folks, anyone who is of any, like, intersection of oppression has experienced some level of harassment online because of who they are, not because of what they're saying or what they're doing necessarily.
All right, I need to take a break. This ordeal is removing my head and destroying my brain. I'm gonna leave you with a choice. I'm gonna play you out with two speeches, back to back, uncut, and you can decide for yourself whether you agree with the first speaker or the second speaker, or both, or neither. And having taken their advice on board, decide whether you'd like to show love and positivity to the speaker you agree with, or focus your outrage on the speaker you disagree with. And in light of all that's happened, I hope you have the capacity to examine your actions. It's up to you who you invite back to VidCon, Hank. Listen out for the applause. That's a factor to take into consideration. But your call is as good as anyone else's as to who among us is encouraging conversation and who among us is inciting harassment. Who's creating unity based on ideas and who's creating division based on appearances. All right, take it away, panelists 0 and 1.
The other thing is, I feel like too often folks come to these panels or see this stuff happening and then you walk away and that's it. Like, cool, this is an issue, we may have heard some smart things being said, and then you don't know what to do after this. And I think it's really important that you leave feeling empowered and you leave riled up and angry and pissed. Like, what are we gonna do about this together? Why is this still a thing that's happening? And why is it our job to solve this problem, right? So what do you do in your communities? How do you have these conversations in your communities? How do you monitor? How do you moderate your communities? And also how, like, being an ally of whatever if you are a white person, you should be talking to other white people about white supremacy and your privilege. If you are a man, you should be talking to other men about it. If you are cis, you should be talking about trans issues. You should be educating the folks in your privilege category so that we don't have to do that work, or whatever intersections, right? And I think that that's a really important piece of this about how to be a good ally. What does that mean? How do you support this community? And how do we start building a space online where we just get to do the cool shit that we want to do not be attacked because of the way we look or because of who we are, as opposed to just like, we're all making cool stuff and we can have interesting conversations around that. That isn't to say we can't disagree and we can't critique each other, but like, harassment needs to end, and we need to allow space for more voices to come in that are being silenced and shut down. And I work a lot adjacent to games, and like, listening to young women who wanted to work in games but then see what happens to us in this space and not want to pursue that career is absolutely devastating. So how do we end that now so that we get more people, more women in tech, more marginalized voices in these spaces making videos about whatever it is that they're interested in?
Well, my answer is probably going to be way less impactful than that. Because
I've been doing this for a while.
Right. But I think if you individually want to make your community better, I think as a creator, and I'm in charge of a community, for my Twitch stream, for example, I hire very good moderators who take very good care of my chat to make sure that positivity is pushed to the front and negativity is removed. I use filters on my YouTube channel in my comments section to make sure that the frequent harassment words that are used against me are filtered out. And that positive comments are often upvoted. I will go through and block out an hour every day to interact personally with people who put positivity on the internet to foster that. And I think if you want to make your community better, I think the best thing you can do is fill that community with positivity. I don't necessarily agree that anger and frustration is the right way to do that. I think when we find something beautiful in our community, I think we should celebrate that, right? And that's just a different methodology. It's the way that I would choose to do it. But I personally have had enough anger and enough pain and enough frustration where I personally can't fight that fight. So what I choose to do is I celebrate positivity and beautiful stuff instead. And it's so important as a creator to use those tools. On Twitter, there's tools, I think even you were on the advisory board that created some of these incredible tools on Twitter that make my Twitter feed so much more bearable. Use those tools. They are available to you. Get to know them and use them to foster a beautiful community that celebrates our uniqueness and our happiness and our joy in this world.
Oftentimes it really says more about the people that are saying those things, because unfortunately people are way more vocal about the things that they don't like, the things that they're upset about, versus the things that they do like.
It's definitely an inevitability. It's like I was in a chat today.